Good evening, everyone, and happy Earth Month. We are so happy that you can join us to celebrate a vital Earth for everyone. With me, WaWa Gatheru, founder of Black Girl Environmentalist, alongside the Environmental Defense Fund, Mom's Clean Air Force, and EcoMadres, and Defend Our Future. Tonight, we're going to talk about and celebrate the progress we've seen happen over the last year and the great opportunity that we have in this moment, the climate moment, to call on our leaders to get serious about climate change solutions. I'm so thrilled and excited to announce this great lineup of representatives and entertainment for tonight. We're joined by three brands and their representatives. First, we have Jay Knott, EDF Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer, Alameda Cooper from Mom's Clean Air Force, Carolina Pina from EcoMadres, Kylie Wagner, Director of Defend Our Future, and our incredible and talented entertainment for the evening, singer Lucia Valentine and poet Emily Rodriguez. So as a university student myself, my first question goes to Defend Our Future, and the question is about your community of student ambassadors. Would you be okay telling us about what you're all most excited about this spring and summer, and what is the most important thing students can do in this moment, the climate moment, to make sure that their voices are heard on climate and taken seriously?
Sure. Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. So I think that the most important thing that young people can do is to recognize and own the power that we have. So Gen Z and millennials make up the largest voting bloc in the country. So that means that we know that decision makers care about what we want, and we have a lot of power in the decisions that are made. And at the same time, our generation has a deep understanding of the intersectionality of the issues that threaten our communities. So from climate change to systemic injustices like racism and sexism. And we want to use our power to defend our communities from those threats. So at Defend Our Future, we work closely with college students through our Campus Ambassador program. These students organize with us, recruiting volunteers, hosting events, and building that public pressure to make sure that decision makers and especially members of Congress are fighting for our communities and enacting the climate solutions that we need. So this month, our ambassadors have been hosting all sorts of incredible events to get their communities engaged and educated around this moment that we're in that is truly historic, that we could achieve the climate solutions that we need. So our ambassadors have been hosting events around art and activism. They've been doing craft nights with reclaimed plastics and using their artistic skills to channel some of their eco-anxiety and to start conversations about why this moment is so important. And at the same time, they are meeting with their representatives, encouraging their fellow young people to reach out to their representatives, and making sure that nobody can ignore us. I think it's really easy for young people to be dismissed or to feel like we're not taken seriously, but we have the power to really advocate for the change that we want to see. And we are the generation that's going to be the most impacted by these decisions that are made. So it's never been more important for us to raise our voices and own our power to make a change.
Absolutely. And I think that point that you just hit there of the fact that we have the power, and sometimes because the world is telling young people or students that we aren't old enough to understand these processes, it can feel like we're being dismissed. But I also think it's important for us to recognize the fact that some of the first places that we are recognized for our voices and for our autonomy is at home with our family and our parents and our mothers. So I think we can all agree that many students, including myself, would be nowhere without our mothers and our parents in general, who guide and protect us on our own paths to adulthood. Like I said before, I would not be the young woman that I am today if it weren't for my parents and their endless sacrifice and fight to ensure that I had a life beyond survival. So this question is for Mom's Clean Air Force. Y'all have done exactly that. You all are a force in the environmental justice and clean air movement since 2011. And we've got to know what keeps you all motivated to keep up with this great fight. So you all have scored major wins for clean school buses and air quality in the past year. So if you could tell us more about what keeps you all motivated and what it took to get all the billions of dollars for funding that is included in the bipartisan infrastructure law we're now seeing going into states to electrify school bus fleets and advance national charging infrastructure.
What keeps me motivated as a mom and a member of my community is that I care deeply about environmental justice, especially the connection between climate and health equity for our most vulnerable populations. Climate change is a major contributor to the health crisis in African American communities, not in some distant future, but right now, when severe heat waves regularly threaten public health, preying especially on older adults, pregnant women, and low-income communities. African Americans contribute 23% less to the adverse impact of climate change, but bear 21% more of the harms when compared to other racial groups. We need strong standards in place now to reduce dangerous climate pollutants. And across the country, African American communities face more dangerously hot days, meaning temperatures above 105 degrees Fahrenheit, than other communities. A study estimated that on average, counties where higher numbers of African Americans were living had 2 to 3 more days of dangerous heat per year. That number could increase by 10 times by the year 2050. African Americans are twice as likely to die from dangerous heat compared to other groups. And now to address the larger question that you asked about what Moms has been doing to contribute to achieving some of the dollars that were in the bipartisan infrastructure law. As an active grassroots organization of 1.5 million parents and caregivers, one of Mom's Clean Air Force's strengths is that we are organized locally to inform elected officials that the U.S. about our personal stories. And when we tell elected officials that the U.S. transportation sector is the largest source of air pollution and is responsible for 29% of all climate pollution and how it affects us, our personal experiences resonate with them. The reason why we focus on electric school buses is because we must move away from diesel polluting buses to cleaner, more efficient buses to protect the health of the 25 million school children and their bus drivers who ride to school every day, and to reduce the carbon pollution that is heating up our climate. Asthma is the leading chronic disease affecting children in our country, and we know diesel pollution can't be good for our children.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your thoughtful answer. I am such a huge fan of the work that you all are doing, and I think it's a really important precedent for everyone to really encourage and follow of the responsibility that we all have to protect our most vulnerable, our children, and especially Black, Indigenous, and children of color that are at the forefront of this specific issue. And in this push, we need to ensure that we are doing our best to protect everyone, which then requires everyone to get involved, which kind of goes along with the tagline that has organized us here today. So this question is to EDF. You all have just launched this new tagline, A Vital Earth for Everyone, which is our theme tonight. And there is no doubt about it, our Earth is worth fighting for. And that's why we're all here together, celebrating from all of our different walks of life, right? Students, parents, moms, scientists, legislators, and lawyers. We're all a part of this big ecosystem that we're trying to push forward to protect our planet and solve the climate crisis. And you all have been in this game since the 1960s, as EDF has brought everyone to the table to discover and advance climate solutions. So whether it's been methane, open wells, agriculture, oceans, electric vehicles, or clean energy, EDF has hundreds of staffers around the world working hard to advocate for climate change solutions. So Jay Knott is EDF's Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer. And Jay, I'd like to ask you, can you tell us what we can expect to see from EDF for Vital Earth?
Thank you, WaWa. First, I want to thank and congratulate all the groups represented here for their work on behalf of of our planet, on behalf of the people. We're all in this effort together, and I think the more we can collaborate and work together, the better off we'll be. Certainly at Environmental Defense Fund, we're really proud of the more than 800 staff we have in some 30 countries around the world. We're really working on, again, having a more vital planet for all of us. We're really excited that late last year we launched a new strategy. And I think two things in particular are really important I want to point out. One is it's a strategy that takes us to 2030. We're really focused on the urgency of action now so that, again, working together, we can avoid the worst aspects of what we see in the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report with regards to global warming. That's a future that doesn't look good unless, in fact, we take urgent action now between now and 2030. The other really important step I think we took in our new strategy was, again, for a big green group like the Environmental Defense Fund, we really focused in our new strategy on environmental justice, really looking at people-focused policy action, implementation actions, things that make a difference in people's lives that will improve their futures and the futures of their families. That's a real important acknowledgement and an emphasis in our new strategy. That's, again, why, and so, again, urgency and environmental justice. And so that's, again, why looking in the United States, we're really looking to push on the Biden administration's infrastructure plan. I think we need to acknowledge that it's a positive step in the face of a dangerous, inequitable situation. Looking across infrastructure across the United States, I think we must acknowledge that Black and brown communities, frontline communities, are all suffering and will suffer more from negative climate impact than any others. If you look at air pollution, water pollution, Almeda mentioned heat stress, soil quality, where landfill sites are put, where the petrochemical sites are located, you will find a coincidence with Black and brown and Native American communities across this country. We are hopeful, meaning we are going to be pushing in there with you and everyone else to ensure that Justice 40, meaning the commitment that 40% of that funding goes, in fact, to those disadvantaged communities, that's a promise made and a promise kept. Without that, we think that environmental justice will go wanting, and that's something we don't want to see repeated again in the United States. The last point I want to make is, too often I think that those who campaign against us often want to say that we're all about doom and gloom. It's all about, the movie Don't Look Up, that people are going to tune us out. I really think that what we've already heard in this session is really about the arts, people with positive messages, reaching out, offering, a positive vision. That's really what we're offering. Acknowledging that urgency that's just real, right? Urgency is real, urgency is needed, but we're also looking for the positive that's going to come out of that. Certainly we recognize that, as we begin to offer and provide more renewable energy to people across the country and across the world, as we begin to offer and provide greener infrastructure, that with that will come better health and well-being in these communities, but also jobs. The greening of the supply chain means jobs. Providing more renewable energy in its generation, jobs. Cleaner transportation, again, jobs and higher incomes for the communities that need it most. So again, we think that with the urgency comes a promise of a brighter future, a greener future. And again, we're honored to be part of this movement. And we hope to continue to play our part in the United States, but also around the world. So I thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much, Dave, for that incredible overview of EDF's refreshed mission and focus. And I really love that last part of this promise of a just future. I think in this climate moment that we find ourselves in, it's so important that we reframe and lean into the optimism of we have this once in a species long opportunity to restructure our world to be just for us all. And I think that's something that as we continue to lean into, will continue to really facilitate this movement that everyone can see themselves in, and that everyone can really get involved in environmental justice and just really a just future for us all. So staying true to that, I want to pivot to Carolina from EcoMadres for a word in Spanish.
Ok, thank you. Bueno, ahora voy a hablar en español. Soy Carolina Peña, soy boliviana, pero vivo en Virginia. Dirijo el programa EcoMadres. Es un programa de Moms Cleaner Force, una comunidad de padres y cuidadores que actúan juntos en soluciones equitativas para proteger la salud de las familias latinas de la contaminación del aire y del cambio climático. EcoMadres educa, involucra y empodera a sus miembros para que eleven sus voces en busca de soluciones equitativas para proteger a nuestros niños y niñas de los efectos de la contaminación y cómo ellos afectan en su salud. La realidad es que los latinos tienen 3 veces más probabilidades de verse afectados negativamente por la contaminación del aire, debido al lugar donde viven y trabajan. A menudo, muchos miembros de nuestra comunidad no saben o no hacen la conexión debido a la falta de información en español sobre esta temática. Así que EcoMadres organiza con frecuencia cafecitos para informar, motivar a nuestros miembros. Estas reuniones se celebran en iglesias, en hogares, en cafeterías y a veces en línea, ahora que estamos en pandemia, donde nosotros compartimos experiencias de cómo la contaminación del aire y el cambio climático están afectando a sus comunidades. En estas reuniones, los participantes comparten historias, disfrutan de la música, como verán ahora a mi colega que estará cantando en inglés. También tenemos personas que también hablan en español, hacemos conexiones y de una manera simbólica aprendemos a tomar medidas que promuevan la equidad y de la salud ambiental que nos afecta. Los latinos siempre se han preocupado por el medio ambiente como una cuestión moral y personal, además de que nos gusta estar al aire libre, en los parques, en los ríos y sobre todo, pues nos preocupa mejorar la calidad de vida de nuestras familias. Así que el programa de EcoMadres trabaja para cerrar esa brecha de acceso a la información bilingüe, fiable y con base científica, involucrando y empoderando a las familias latinas para que hagan oír su voz sobre el efecto de la contaminación del aire y el cambio climático en la salud. Todos podemos marcar la diferencia, así que expresemos a nuestros representantes electos a nivel local y federal que deben invertir en programas y proyectos que beneficien nuestra salud y el clima. Todos estamos interconectados y dependemos unos de otros. Todo suma, también en la defensa de nuestra salud y de nuestro patrimonio más ancestral, nuestro planeta. Así que los invito a visitar viviendoverde.net, el cual es un proyecto de Corazón Latino, Environmental Defense Fund y Climate Power, el cual va a proporcionar la información sobre datos fiables sobre cómo el cambio climático y la injusticia medioambiental está afectando a nuestras familias y a nuestros seres queridos. Así que mi gente, por favor, les pido que nos acompañen y visiten ecomadres.net para que se informen sobre nuestros recursos informativos disponibles en español e inglés, los cuales proveen temas relacionados a la contaminación del aire, el cambio climático, ya que juntos podemos luchar por un medio ambiente limpio para nuestros hijos y para los más vulnerables como nuestros abuelos y abuelas. Nosotros estamos presentes en varios estados de la nación, así que contacta a nuestras organizadoras en Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Iowa, Nevada, Nuevo México y Texas. Y conmigo pueden contactar desde Maryland, Virginia y Washington, D.C. Puede ser que el Día de la Tierra sea un solo día en abril. Sin embargo, cada día reflexionemos sobre la abundante belleza de nuestro planeta y consideremos cómo podemos servir mejor de nuestro único hogar que tenemos. Practiquemos acciones diarias responsables y luchemos juntos por la justicia en cada respiro. Y hagamos de la justicia medioambiental una prioridad para que ninguna comunidad se quede atrás. Únete a nosotros. Earth Day must be one day in April. Yet, each day let's reflect on the abundant beauty of our planet and consider how we can best serve our only home we have. So let's practice responsibly daily actions and fight together for justice in every breath and make environmental justice a priority so no community is left behind. So join us. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Carolina, for your powerful words. We are so thrilled to have two incredible artists join us and grace us with their talents this evening as we celebrate Earth Month. I really think that leaning into the power of the arts and music as a way to connect with people of all walks of life is such a powerful tool for us to really utilize in this climate moment and just really connect on that level. So first, I'd like to introduce Lucia Valentine, who is a singer and songwriter who hails from West Virginia, with their original song entitled We Are the One. So excited.
Here's a little song about R-E-S-P-E-C-T, the kind that leads to L-O-V-E. You gotta give it out to get some in return. It's a life lesson everybody's gotta learn. Be the first one to take the first step. Don't be pushing out words that lead to regret. Be faithful, be loving, and be kind. Speak to the soul, speak to the mind. Be truthful when you speak, turn the other cheek. Look straight into the eyes of the people you meet. And try to put a smile on everyone that you greet. No matter the face, we're all the human race. We are one together, one love. And we are one together, one love. Tread lightly on this place, it's our only planet. Don't take the beauty around you for granted. Be thankful for the sun and be grateful for the stars, cause everything around us is part of who we are. Lend an open hand to the person beside you. Let an understanding heart be the light to guide you. Treat everyone as your brother, sister, or your friend, cause all we have is each other in the end. Last but not least, don't forget the golden rule, the one that taught you back in grade school. When every day a teacher repeated, treat everyone as you would like to be treated. We are one together, one love. We are one together, one love. We are one, we are one, we are one, together love. We are one, we are one, we are one, together love. We are one together, one love.
Oh my goodness, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Lucia, for that. And Thank you to your father as well. What a beautiful, beautiful song. Thank you for those lyrics. Thank you for sharing, both of you sharing your gift here today. I don't want to speak for everyone here, but I think we can all agree that music really is such a powerful tool to communicate exactly what you just did. And just thank you so much for gracing us with your presence here today and your wonderful voice. And next up, we have another powerful performer here today, Emily Rodriguez, and we're so excited to hear your poetry here today. So here you go.
Thank you. I'll be reading 3 poems from my book, Dreaming El Salvador, and the 3 pieces I chose to read are about my people's land and how land interacts with us. Querido Salvador, they want you dead, head displaced from body, siblings hanging from trees, tectonic plates active. Don't they, Salvador? Your people, your geography all conspire against you. Earthquakes beg volcanoes to erase you entirely. Vengeful hurricanes displace your gente. The Pacific Ring of Fire, their home of burning instability. Land desperate, people more. So peasant pueblos raise generations of uprisings. Suicidio político, un engaño letal, guerra en vano. Unwilling to surrender, not even for you. 75,000 dead or missing people, and one penetrable peace accord later, they finally disarmed you, leaving you open, susceptible to manipulation. Wealthy barrios cultiva la pobreza de esta vida. Across borders, children who fled nurture cleaved accents until lengua divides their understanding of you. Eventually, they return, some orgullosos, others a la fuerza. La migración, another enemigo you didn't see coming. Querido Salvador, doloroso y sangriente, who will save you si nadie te quiere? Paso del Norte. Bones shine in the desert. Some bleached marrow against the sand's ashy shade of beige. Snakes idle between footsteps, hungry for a misstep. Dad knows. Tucks his tail to la madre naturaleza, afraid of her rows and rows of nothingness, how the glitter calls to him, her desperation in disguise, hot for another body, and he's there, stranded in search of a coyote. Chihuahuan desert, a holding cell, an oblivion where all beings are both dead and alive, a blur of probability. Bones detained, drowned, starved, thirsty. His fate, superposition. He, the only witness to his skinny legs trembling in vain. His body a nesting doll of take only what you can. Dad knows. If the canal be his end, let him join his floating passport. If the interstate stops his lucha, eventually it'd be the same if he stayed home. His fate defined la patria, but not yet in the States. Dad's heart beats, cruzaré, cruzaré, cruzaré. Paso del Norte, his camino to a life where his tomb is still empty. Ranchito Dreams. Dirt of your home paints your skin, and sun dries tears in your eyes like grapes. You feel your soul stir with every crashing wave, and you hear your ancestors' breaths between the ocean. At dawn, you must find oysters fit to be sold and hunt whatever fish you find with your tiny hands. As sun awakens, you are already deep into your day, burdened with buckets of sea lives you had to take. On your head, you balance a basket for donations. That's how we met. You asked me for un peso, and I brought you to my family because I didn't understand you then. I remember how your hollowed face flaunted your bones for show, how I wanted to know what made it that way, what made you that way. We sat in water digging up strange caracolitos and talking about school. You wanted to know all about it. You wished you could go. You'd walk miles to get there, but your parents needed you to work. So like waves, you never stopped crashing, and like Mahagwe, you never stopped dreaming. You asked my mother, "No me puedes llevar?" I don't think she had the strength to truthfully answer. We crafted stories of how we could be sisters. I planted a seed in your mind that would never stop growing. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much, Emily. You have such powerful words and you have such a gift in the way that you communicate. And I'm so happy that we got to hear your gift and hear your words. And I'm personally very excited to continue to follow your work and support all the talents that you have. So tonight's celebration may be coming to a close, but don't let that be the last time you act on climate. So we're going to go around with all of our representatives here today and have them give a final word on what people can do after logging off of this incredible celebration to use their voice to act on climate. So first, we're going to go to Defend Our Future. So I'd like to ask you, how can our audience get involved and how can we find you online or in person?
Thanks for asking. We would love to have you as part of our movement. Our power lies in people and how many people we can bring into this fight with us. And there is no better time to be involved than right now because we are on the precipice of a historic opportunity to win the solutions that we need. So the best way that you can stay in the know on what young people across the country are doing to combat climate change and to make sure that you know about events and action opportunities is to follow us over on Instagram. We are at Defend Our Future. And if you head over there, send us a DM and tell us that you came from this event, and we'll make sure that we get you set up in the best way possible.
Thank you, Kylie. So we're going to turn it over to Moms Clean Air Force. How can our audience stay in touch? How do we find you in person, online? And what advice do you have for our audience in getting involved?
At Moms Clean Air Force, we're asking you to please get involved in your state with Moms Clean Air Force local projects that help reduce air pollution, fight climate change, and improve the health of our children and families. You can make a difference locally. Tell your elected officials to make common sense investments in climate now and safeguard our children's future. We are fighting for justice in every breath and making environmental justice a priority so that no community is left behind. And you can find us almost everywhere on social media. We are on Twitter at Clean Air Moms, at Clean Air Moms. We're on Facebook, also at www.facebook.com/Moms Clean Air Force. We're on Instagram, also at Clean Air Moms. And please go to our website at www.momscleanairforce.org. And you'll be able to find some great information and interact with the projects that we're doing across the country.
Okay, I'm going to pass along the same question to Carolina. So how can we find everyone and what advice do you give for our audience here today on how to get involved?
Muchas gracias. Como pueden nosotros participar es conociendo dónde estamos en sus estados, conocer cuáles son los proyectos locales que se están llevando a cabo tanto por Moms Clean Air Force y EcoMadres, de cómo poder ayudar a reducir la contaminación del aire, a luchar por el cambio climático y a mejorar la salud de nuestros niños. ¿Y cómo pueden ustedes realmente marcar la diferencia a nivel local? Lo más importante es educarse. Puede ser muy abrumador lo que está sucediendo, pero educarse es un muy buen punto de partida. Al unirse a nosotros con Moms Clean Air Force y EcoMadres, pueden contactarse con sus funcionarios electos para que inviertan en infraestructura que beneficie a la limpieza de nuestro clima ahora y que salvaguarden el futuro de nuestros hijos. Todos luchamos por la justicia en cada respiro y hacemos que la justicia medioambiental sea una prioridad para que ninguna comunidad se quede atrás. Así que los invitamos a que nos acompañen en momscleanerforce.org. También estamos en Twitter, nos pueden seguir en Clean Air Moms, y en Facebook también tenemos una página que pueden acompañarnos, y en Instagram. Así que les agradecemos que aprendan con nosotros cómo pueden hacer la diferencia para mejorar la calidad de vida y la salud de nuestras comunidades.
Thank you so much, Carolina. And lastly, I want to ask the same question to you, Jay, from EDF. What can our audience do to really lean into this climate moment and make sure that it's not a moment? And where can we find y'all online and get engaged that way?
Sure. So thank you. So a few things. One is we've got to remain positive. There is so much bad news out there these days that sometimes it can be tough to keep your head up, to keep moving forward, to keep organizing, to keep fighting. We've got to find the strength in all of us and amongst us to keep the movement moving forward. So I think the first thing is positivism, optimism is really important going forward. But the next thing is you've got to register to vote and you've got to vote. One thing we know is that, as I like to say, if you aren't counted, you're not going to count. Meaning that unless you vote, unless you make your voice heard, of course, your interests and what you care about isn't going to be at the top of the agenda. We've got to participate and be active in that. I think everyone has pointed out that acting at the local level is really, really important. That's incredibly true. It's also true that we need to make sure that we're bringing it together in terms of a national and international movement to have a greater an impact than we can have even in our own communities. For EDF, you can find us on all the social media, and you can locate our website at edf.org. But again, let's rally, let's be optimistic, let's work together, let's push forward and achieve.
Thank you so much, Jay. This is WaWa. I can be found online on Twitter or TikTok at WaWa Gatheru. And I am so excited that I got to be a part of this incredible celebration here today. And it was such a pleasure getting to hear from all of our representatives and just to really be in community with each other virtually and hear the beautiful performances that we did earlier. I'm sure many of you can agree, and we've heard bits and pieces of this throughout this evening. It's the fact that we really need to lean in and embrace radical joy and optimism in this moment. Jay, you're talking about how there's so much climate doomism and nihilism that takes up so much space online, and sometimes it can get really frustrating to see that. So it's really important that we organize spaces like this that are meant to celebrate what has already happened, what's to come, and celebrate the new world that we're working actively to build together to ensure that environmental justice is the reality and future that we're working towards. So good night, everyone. This isn't a goodbye. It's a let's see you later. Whether it's online or on Capitol Hill, we are all in this together to win on climate. So let's go. Let's get to work. Let's continue to do the great work. And I hope everyone has a great evening. Thank you for joining.
Ecomadres y ecopadres, que se escuche esta canción. Ecomadres y ecopadres.